It is 8 o'clock. Welcome back if anyone's already here. I don't think so. I literally just started. We'll wait a little bit until everyone is here, or at least there's someone here. Right now there's no one here. I don't know if anyone's commenting or not. There's like a little loading thing on my my little manager or whatever. So I don't know if anyone's here or not. I don't think there's anyone here. I guess if nobody shows up, then I'll just talk to myself and then record this and post it. Which will be fine, you know, fun. I might have to update the app. I haven't updated the app in a little bit. I can look at my phone. Oh, there are people. Okay. Because my iPad isn't working. So I guess I'll use my phone for tonight. But I'll wait until more people are here. Give it like 3 more minutes, I guess. Maybe in the meantime I can update my app. Oh, see, now everything's like updating. Now I see that we have 13 viewers. That is probably more because everything's like slow right now. Okay, now I can see things. Now I can. Okay. I'll still give it 2 more minutes. And then we'll start. Or at least 1. Start at 8:05. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. That was the last time that I had my class. And I hope if anyone who was in college right now and is in finals week, I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm going through it. Somehow managed to be here tonight. Let me make sure I'm recording on this so that we're good there, just in case. I always get a little nervous if I'm not recording on here, because I don't know if Twitch is like, I don't know. Technology scares me. Alrighty, I guess I'll get started and maybe people will start pouring in. So welcome to class 3 of effective storytelling and screenwriting or script writing for, writing for animation. So in this class, we're going to focus on formatting a script. So we're going to go over some script writing programs, we're going to talk about slug lines, action lines, parentheses, dialogue, and a lot more things. We're also going to look at some scripts. Might look at some of my old ones, just to you can see a range of different scripts. So here is like the basic stuff. Like this is what we're going to go over, and this is basically the whole kind of format of it. So you see you got your slug, your descriptions, your character name, your parenthetical action, your dialogue, your page break, tile over, transition. So for script writing programs, there are a lot out there. There's a lot of free ones, and there's, a lot that are expensive. But we all start somewhere. Some start on Google Docs. I started on Google Docs. It was a lot of work to be on Google Docs and trying to figure out where everything is placed. But with a program, they can do that all for you. So like you don't have to figure out what the margins are, what typeface you need, what size. You don't have to do any, like everything is like they just do it for you, and you just like press a button and it goes. Yeah, I started with my favorite one, which doesn't exist anymore, which I did most of my scripts on from the past, is Amazon Storywriter, which they got rid of, which I think is rude, because it was pretty good. It was pretty basic. It was free. It was like super clean, it was so easy to use, and that's what I use in all my classes, like with all my scripts, basically. And it's just better than a lot of the alternatives that they have, but doesn't exist anymore. Cool, so whatever. So here are some free programs that you can use. So there's Studio Binder. I haven't actually used most of these. So these are ones that I looked up, that I heard are pretty good. So Studio Binder is completely online, and it's really good for working a project. If you want to produce something and you're like working on like a movie or TV, something, you have like a whole team. Yeah, so you can like work in like, I think you can work in real time with this, and it's like you can do a lot of like full production stuff with like notes and like all that. There's Fade In, which I think I've used like the app for it. Like the demo version is basically the same as like the paid version. And the paid version is only $50, which compared to some of the bigger stuff, this is a better option. But like when you export using the demo version, when you export your script, you're gonna have a big watermark on it, which is gonna be stinky if you're like going into the industry and you're like, oh, we got this fade in thing. Like it's gonna look kind of not lame, but it's just like, oh, it's not gonna look as professional as the others. But if you're just working for yourself, if you're doing your own little script for yourself, for your own little project, who cares about a watermark, honestly. You can also do real-time collaboration with this as well. There's also Writer Duet, which is another real-time collaboration, and you're able to import and export many different types of files. Like I think when I read up on it, you can also do different like files that are in other programs. So you can do like a Scrivener file, or like a like the big ones. I forget the big one. Okay. But you can really like, not just a PDF, not just like the Writer Duet, whatever file, not just the docs. It's gonna be like really, they have an expansive kind of thing. But you can't upload many scripts, or I'm guessing they probably have like a file limit and like on how many scripts you can write. So that's kind of stinky, but it's free, so who cares? Here's some more. Trebly is like an open source screenwriting software. There's no locked features or watermarks, but there is no Mac version, so I couldn't use it. But someone with a PC could. There's also Kit Scenarist, yeah, which tracks different stats, including like how much dialogue each character has and all that, which I find is interesting. Like, I'd really like to maybe use it one day. So it's really good for like compiling research, and like if you have the like, say you have world building that you're doing, or like your script takes place in like 1920, so you really want to get all those images, all those facts in, you can compile your research there. And you also can have like there's a card module which will like visualize your thing as like note cards, which is like a big thing in the screenwriting world, which we kind of talked about in the last class with like outlining. There's Highland. I think it's called Highlander too. I think I made a mistake, but this is, I think I've used this. I think I have it on my computer, but it's only for Mac. And it tracks like a lot of changes, so you can see where you change stuff. And all the PDFs are watermarked because it's free. But I think I've used it, but I never really written in it, because but I downloaded it and it was okay. It's not that bad. So here's some paid programs. So Celtex, I've used it before. I did like a subscription back in like high school because I was like, I don't know what to use, and this is something, and it was like cheap. Like, I didn't know there were like free ones, so I was like, oh, I'll just make my mom pay for like a $15 like monthly subscription, and just once I'm done, I'll, that's it. But because it's subscription based, like, that kind of sucks. Like, it's not like a one-time purchase. And there's a lot of different like kinds of subscriptions you can do. It's all cloud based, which is, I guess, kind of nice. So like it's all uploaded, and then you know that you have it there. But sometimes, apparently, when I was looking up like reviews of this, there was sometimes like scripts were being formatted like incorrectly, and things were being placed wrong. And they also have other kinds of like formats and sheets, such as like call sheets and storyboarding stuff, for any like pre-production stuff. Final Draft 10, or I guess it's on 11 or 12, I don't know. But this is like a big one. Like, this is what the industry is like. You need to have Final Draft 10. Not really. They don't really care. I don't think they can tell the difference between like most of them, but the reason why there's like an industry standard is because there's certain types of files for each program, and it's just easier to have everyone use the same program, so everyone uses Final Draft, and it's just like easier to import, export, and like, collaborate and stuff. But it is $250. It is a one-time purchase, which is nice. But that's $250. That is not something I'm gonna put out while I'm like a student. Maybe when I'm like actually a writer, getting a paycheck. Not gonna do it now. So you can also like tag, and there's like report tools. There's real-time collaboration, and there's also other pre-production tools like storyboarding and shot lists. Movie Magic Screenwriter is like another one that's kind of big. It's not industry standard, but it is. I think it's like a standard of the Writers Guild. So they do like endorse it and all that. It's basically like the same thing. I've never used it. But they have a lot of different templates. So like including like scripts for like comics and like podcasts and all that. But it does not offer direct imports from Final Draft. So you cannot take a script from Final Draft. So say someone in your writer's room was writing in Final Draft, and they wanted to send you their draft or their script. You cannot put it into Movie Magic Screenwriter. It wouldn't go through. it wouldn't work and it's not compatible. What I use though is Scrivener. I think I'm saying that right. I've never said it out loud, but like in my head I go, oh, Scrivener. But I think it's yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right. Anyways, it's $45, and then for Mac, and then 40 for Windows. So, congrats, Windows, for that $5, um, you know, discount. But I use it. I've liked it so far. I'm not saying that it's like any better than a free program because I can't really compare it to a lot of the newer free programs that are out there. But it's really good for compiling research, and I'll step out of this right now, like after I'm done reading this, and then I'll show you what it's like. But it's really good for compiling research and like information on characters and locations, and you can break down everything into like scenes. Even like no matter what you're writing, like if you're writing a novel in the program, you can break it down into scenes, and I find that really helpful for like pacing. But then I'm also still not comfortable with it because I'm just used to going, oh, this is my one page, and I'm just gonna keep writing on this one page, and I'm like, oh wait, no, the scene's over with. So, and also I don't know what they would consider a scene. Would it be like a scene as in like a place change? So I'm like, have to figure that out better. But I've only had it for like less than a year. I think I got it. I forget when I got it. I think it was sometime in the summer. So I was like, oh, I'll get it. $40, not bad. But it has a corkboard feature as well, where you can break down scenes using note card, like the note card method. And you can use it for novel writing, for brochures. You can really use it for anything. But I've heard that some people don't like it because it apparently collating like pages into a PDF can be tedious. I know that whenever I have exported a script, it is a little like it'll take you to Word document first, which I kind of like, only because then I know that if I don't have this program later, or if I like lose something, I don't know, like I can at least edit this script somehow. Like if I don't have Scrivener, I have this doc and I have Word document and I can edit this. When I had Amazon Storywriter, it would just go straight to PDF, and so now that Amazon Storywriter isn't around, I don't have that ability to edit these scripts the way I want to. I mean, obviously I can export whatever. I can get like a program to make it into a doc, or into Scrivener, but it's just like, I don't have, like, it's just more difficult. So it is nice that it does take you to docs first. I don't know. I just like it. And then I can, if I want to excerpt and I just want to send like a page, then I can just go, oh, let me copy that, put it in a new document, send it. Easy. I'll show you what it looks like. I forget what I have open. I have open a spec script that I'm working on for Gravity Falls. But here you see, it'll show you how to use the template, which is pretty nice. So here's the screenplay itself. So you see that the scene is like a note card, and you can write on top of this and be like, oh, this is where Dipper is going to Wendy's, or something like that. Except I'm dumb and I'm writing the whole script in one scene, because that's just how my brain has been working. But yeah, and then you can go down in the scene and you can see it, and we'll go over, what all this mess is later. But they also do the title page, which is really nice. So you see what like a title page would look like. Then you have the characters. Let me go into a different file because I have a better one here. It'll open. Okay, here you go. So here you can see that I actually broke it down in the scenes. I wasn't an idiot with this one, so you can really see. So if I wanted to write here and here, I can go and just write, this is the epilogue or something. That, like, you can break it down like that. I haven't written anything for the front page. But here I have, like, characters, so see I have all their names. And then I can even go in if I, like, double tap on this, and there's, like, a whole kind of character thing right here, which I haven't really looked into, and haven't really done. You can also do places, which is nice, especially if you're, like, really world building and you're, like, creating this whole new world. It's nice to, like, be able to keep track of everything. And you can have notes. I haven't done that yet. You can have research. Yeah, it's pretty nice. And it's pretty cheap compared to other ones. And I think you can, if I go in here and I export this, I should be able to, yeah, I can do it in Final Draft. I can do it in the Fountain screenplay, which I forgot to touch on. Even in plain text, even in different things, you know, web page if you want. I don't think you'd ever need that. But yeah, it's pretty easy to use, simple, no mess. I feel like I've used it before when I was, like, really old too, and it was really nice then. Alright, let's get back into it. So, you know, it doesn't, like, there's no fault, and, like, there's no program that's really going to be better than, like, another. Whatever is really what you need is what's really important, and, you know, what's best for your wallet. Like, I would go for the free one, especially if you're, like, just starting out with script writing, and you don't really know if you, like, gonna have another project with it, or if you really need it. That's why I'm going with the mid-range price, because I'm like, oh, what if I don't get that industry job, and then I just spend $250 on something I don't, like, really need. So yeah, but so we're gonna get into formatting, and why it's important to have a standard to formatting a script is clarity. Like, you want, when you're sending out a script, you want everyone to understand what is happening on the page. And when you're sending out a script, and when you're sending out a pilot, when you're pitching to someone, when you're selling a script, the people looking at it are gonna, like, they want to read it as fast as they can and get the just a general idea of it. And so if you have, like, some wacky, like, format that they don't know, that's just gonna impede their time, and they're not gonna take any time to look at your script. They're gonna be like, oh, this is weird, I don't like this. And then throw it in the trash. Of course, if you're writing your own thing and it's just your little project, you know, you can format it anyway, whatever makes you happy. But if you're going into the industry, you're gonna have to adhere to their rules. So the basics, which if you have a screenwriting program, you won't really need. But say you don't. Say you're in the olden times, you're on Word document, and you're like, oh man, how do I make a script? So you always use Courier 12-point font. It's an industry standard, and it's essential to pacing scripts. And you want the left margins, like, they should be 1.5 inches. The right margin should be to 0.5 to 1.25 inches. And the book that I took this from, the Screenwriter's Bible, by David Trotter, he recommended 1 inch, which, like, whatever your program's gonna give you is gonna work fine. So this will allow you to write at least, I think it, like, always, like, around, like, 55 lines per page. And so with indenting and, like, tab rules, so dialogue should be at 25 spaces, actors' instructions at 31, character names at 37. Parentheticals should not be wider than 2 inches. Page numbers should appear in the upper right, flush to the right margin, a half inch from the top edge of the page, followed by a period. That's just standard. You're not going to need to know this really, because if you have a program, it's going to just do it for you. And also, each page of a screenplay is basically a minute of screen time. So this is like the big rule. And that's why you have all these other steps here in order to make that happen. So that's why you have the size font. This is why you have 55 lines. Because it basically, each page is going to round out to about a minute. So if you want to write a 2-hour movie, that's like 120 pages. If you want to write an hour-long TV show, that's 60 minutes. If you want to write a 30-minute TV show, that's 30 minutes with no ads. That's about, that's 30 pages. 30 pages. With no ads, and then about 22 pages with ads. However, what I've heard, I didn't get to finish this stream or this video. It was with Cartoon Network, and they had 2 of their writers on, and I didn't get to finish it. But what I really remember from that is that they typically, like, they have like a wide range of where their pages are at, and so they're writing like 11-minute to 20 page, like 30-minute kind of shows. So like theirs apparently ranges from like, it can like be like 22 pages for like a 30-minute program, or sometimes it pushes towards 26 pages at most. And this is going to be a little bit different for animation, especially since it's more action-based instead of dialogue-based. So, I mean, it can be dialogue-based, but it's mainly, you want it to be as visual as possible. So you can start your script with fade in, but you don't have to. I don't do it. It's like if you're writing a movie and you want it to fade in onto a scene, that's, I guess you'd do that. We're not going to talk a lot about, like, shot direction and, like, going into, like, how to do, like, a close-up and, like, how to do that. I wasn't really taught that, mainly because my teacher was really into being like, that's, like, the director's job. Like, if you're not the director, you're not going to get a say in how this is going to be shot. Of course, if you are the director writing the script, that's going to be different. You're obviously going to, like, write in what you want. So you can have that if you want it to fade onto a scene. So scripts consist of 3 parts. They consist of slug lines, action lines, and dialogue. So what is a slug line? It is not a slug, but it is a scene heading. Slug line is just like the fun term to call it. But it's a scene heading. So it's that little part in caps at the beginning of each scene that, like, says where it's taking place and, like, what time it is. And it's always in caps. And it should indicate, like, location and time. And they should be simple, so there's no describing the scene. So you're not going to be, like, exterior, busy, crowded, dirty playground day. No, you're just you want all that description in your action lines. Just keep it as simple as possible. So, like, exterior playground day, interior Harriet's room night. Very simple. So like, the EXT means exterior, like I had said, which is indicating that a scene is outside, and interior means INT means interior, indicating the scene is inside. For scenes that happen both inside and outside, like a vehicle, you can put both with, like, the little slash there. So yeah, I think that's what I want to say. So they're supposed to denote camera location, scene location, and time of day. So every time you put exterior and interior, you're just telling where the director and where the team needs to focus, or like where they need to find the location if this is a live action script. And it also, helps, I guess, the artist and the background artist and figure out where this is being placed. So you can also use same time or continuous in a scene heading to transition to a scene that happens like at the same time or right next to each other. So you'd use this when it's like, say you're like jump cutting to like a different character in a different place, but it's happening at the same time, or it's like the same day kind of thing. You would use this. But continuous would be like kind of the same thing. You can use in that same like the same time kind of situation, but you can also use it just to go into, like, say it's in this little example, you can go into your bedroom day, Amanda gets out of bed and walks out into your kitchen, continuous, which is just like that's where she's going next, and that's it. Later can indicate a passage of time, so interior dining room later, or you can simply just put later instead of like location. So if they're not really moving, say it's like their bedroom and they're like talking on the phone, and then later it's like nighttime and they're on the phone or something, they took a nap, I don't know. So there's special notations. This is so like with dream sequences, you would just put Marty's dream, or you can put it in parentheses with Marty's dream. To indicate a time period or a specific date, you would do basically the same thing. But if you wanted the audience to see 1945 on the screen, you're going to have to use a super, which we'll get into later. Some more special notations. So if you want to have like a shot be in like black and white, you can use like a special note, which is like seen here. I've never really seen that personally. And you can do that in like a different special note in the action lines and like parentheses. But I guess it's, if you really need that to be in black and white, if that's really important. If you jump around geographically, you would put it here in like parentheses next to your time of day. If your location doesn't change but the time does, you can put moments later, Here's another example of like if, say, you're in a specific like place that's like important to know, but then you're in another room in that place, you can put it next to it. Usually when you're inside, what the book said at least is that you don't always have to put you don't have to put what time of day it is unless it's really important. Like if you're going outside, that's important to know. But if you're inside, sometimes if there's no window, if it's not like indicated to be like really important, you're not going to add it. So secondary headings. So here's the main slug line, and then you go into the mini slug lines, which is like the secondary headings. So here you see that we start in the bedroom, and then Johnny's hands flies to his mouth, and he leaps from the bed and rushes into the ensuite, where he promptly drops to his knees next to the toilet. And then in the bedroom, Michael pulls a face at the sound of retching. So in the book, they said that they don't like this. I've definitely done it, like where you stop mid-sentence, go into your mini slug, and then go back into a sentence. Apparently they don't like that. I do it. I think it's best to do it in moderate. Like, don't do it a lot. Don't overdo it, because it might get a little annoying to read, and it might be a little repetitive. But if you really want a scene to like roll it and like really just like flow into itself, you can add this. Here's a bad example of a secondary heading. So we're at the beach. It is day. Marion runs through the waves. Library. Marion reads a book. So if this is like supposed to be like a montage, basically, I'm guessing, we are not provided any information about what time of day it is with the library, if it's inside, but if this is an outside library, we don't know. So this is not where you would do a secondary heading. You'd only do a secondary heading if it's in the same, like, say it's like a house or like a building, or like in the same like kind of location, and like environment. Then you can kind of go into that with like, oh, you're in the bedroom, then you're in your bathroom, then you're in the kitchen. That makes sense. But when you're going from the beach to the library, it's too much of a change. We need to know that change happened. So, secondary headings can help clarify action scenes. So if you're doing like a heavy action scene or like jumping around a lot, we see here that we jump from, so it's like a war movie. We have Eagle 1, we have Eagle 2, and we can see here that we jump from being outside the planes to being inside one of the cockpits, and then we see just above the water like the enemy fighter. So it just helps clarify the placement and like where everything is like going. There's also special headings, so this is where we get into montages, series of shots, like inserts, flashbacks, dreams, basically. And they basically all have the same formatting. Like a montage, super easy. I remember when I was like starting out, I was like, oh my god, montage? Like, that's gonna be difficult to write, but it's really easy. Like, you just put this little like dash and you just say they run along the beach. After you put montage, what they're doing, you just kind of put a dash and a little sentence, and you just like go at where the shots are supposed to be, like the little mini scenes. And then at the end of that, you are gonna put end montage. So a series of shots, this is where it's like a really quick, like just like one shot. Like a montage is gonna be more like little mini scenes kind of strewn together in like different locations, but a series of shots is usually in the same location, but just like really quick shots, and they all have like a main idea to them. So here we see that John is getting even, and we have A, B, C, D, and these are all the different shots that the camera needs to have. So you see John lifts a handgun from his desk drawer. B, John strides down the sidewalk, hand in pocket. Like, it's much different than looking at here, and you're like, oh, you can like see them like going on the bicycle. This one is more like really slow, or at least like, you know, like when I imagine this, you're like, oh, he's like slowly lifting the handgun. He's like, it's more like comic booky, you know, like you're getting the general idea of the scene in a more like choppy kind of way. So what are action lines? The action lines are going to be the meat of everything. It's everything that's not dialogue. It's all the action, and you don't want to treat your action lines like prose. You don't want to treat it like a novel, or like an essay. So it's going to describe the movement, the location, the characters, and everything the audience can see on screen that's relevant to the story. So avoid any like non-visual emotions. This means like don't get in the head of the character. You don't want to get too much in the head of like and get caught up in it. Like in a book, you're gonna spend like, oh, this is why he's doing this, and this is his backstory. You're not gonna really talk about that a lot, or even at all. So, you know, you're gonna say John bangs his fist in anger, rather than John is angry at his sister. Like, why is he angry? Like, how is he showing that? How is he showing that he's angry? Like, how angry is he? Like, we don't know that. That's not... How are we gonna, like, act that out, you know? But with this, you know, oh, you know that he's angry because he's banging his fist on the table, or, like, on something. And always write in present tense. So not in passive, like is sitting or is reading. You don't want to be in past tense at all. So you want to write, John sits down in the chair and watches the dog jump in the air. Or the horses burst out of the gate and into the field. You see that it's completely, in present time. And this is because when you're watching a movie, everything's happening in a present time, basically. Sure, you can have a flashback, but everything, your actor's going to do it, in that time, and that's present. So you want to be economic with your word choice, especially since every page is a minute. But don't feel stifled or limit yourself on creativity. And make sure you're adding voice to your action lines. Just choose your words carefully. This is because, you want to add some voice to it, because that makes it more interesting to read. It's going to make the director understand what you're writing, the tone of what your story is supposed to be. It's gonna, get the actors more engaged. Within the book, they have, a little, anecdote about, Michael Douglas, read a script and only picked it up because he was the writers seemed like they had a lot of fun writing this, and that's why he really enjoyed it, and that's why he jumped on that project. So I'm not going to get into how to, make your action lines be good. That's really just, time and practice and reading other scripts, and just understanding your own style. But, for length of, how, the blocks of action lines, you want to strive for paragraphs of a max of 4 lines. Big blocks of text are, generally a no-no, because it's just, that's going to get really boring to look at, and it's going to make whoever's reading it not want to finish it, and, it's not fun. And also, you can use shorter paragraphs to emphasize certain action and emotions. Kind of in regular paragraphs where, if one character's kind of doing something that's important, then you jump to another paragraph, to another important action. You can capitalize, underline, and italicize certain words and phrases within action lines for added emphasis. I've never really done this, but, major props are often mentioned in all caps. So if you really want your, prop people, your designers to, know that they need to design, a crowbar or, a backpack, that's really important, then you put that in. And an emotion can be emphasized sometimes. Usually, I'll say, sounds. If someone screams, put in, caps, I guess. So here's, an example that I have. Miles jumps across the building. He catches the flash drive just in time. So the flash drive is really important. I wouldn't do that for every single time the flash drive is mentioned, just, probably the first time. So then they know that this is, something that's important. All right. So when you're introducing a character for the first time, capitalize it. You don't do this throughout the whole script. I know this is different than, a play script, if you've ever seen a play script, which I'll show you an example of a play script, so then you understand the difference. God, my, voice is, bad. Anyways, so you want to capitalize the whole name the first time you introduce. So I think I've never done this in a TV script, but every time they are introduced first in that episode, I assume that they are going to be mentioned in caps. This is just to give kind of a cue. This is so then your director, your people, whatever, the cast and crew can know who is in the script, and they can just easily recognize it. So here's an example of Cora opens her eyes to Asami, Bolin, and Mako all staring at her. Also, don't be afraid to describe some details about your characters when first introducing them, such as age, overall vibe of the character. And here are some examples, but these aren't the only ones. Like I've seen like literal like say like Frogbert is a 12-year-old frog who is slimy and yet very charming. He wear like that kind of thing. But I've never written like that. I would assume that's more in like a film. I've only written like short films. So like here's an example of like Frogbert, 12 years old, slimy, and yet serious for his age, sits on the couch staring at the TV. Or there's like Veronica, 17, and an all-American teenager struts down the hallway flaunting her new pink purse from Claire's. Very simple. You get the age. You get kind of like an overall description, like just a general. Sometimes you won't even put that. Like sometimes in the past I've just written the age, especially if you don't know, like if you don't care what the character looks like. Usually like the attitude and the personality will just come out in how you're writing them and their dialogue. Like, yeah, I could totally just take out all-American teenager and just put struts down the hallway and all that, and you can kind of get the idea of who this character is. So there's two ways. So here's two different ways of describing a scene. They're both correct, technically. But, like the first one is just, it's a conference room and it's day. So a TV sits on a table in a corner. That's it. Which is correct. This is not, like, this, I'm not comparing saying that this one's better than the other. It just depends on how important the environment of your scene is. Like, if this is the only thing important to it, then that's all you're going to write. You're not going to write everything like, oh, the conference room has, like, 5 windows on it and, like, a green carpet. Like, unless a green carpet's really important to, like, symbolism or, like, something in a scene, you're not going to really write it. But if there is something unique about the location, describe it. So in this version of the conference room, it says about a dozen business people sit on a leather sofa that form a circle around a distinguished-looking woman dressed to the nines. She stands without pulpit or props and smiles confidently. So these are important details. They're being mentioned. And in order to get as much as possible in terms of characterization, ask yourself how the character is acting. Try to make actions a character thing by making it more specific. So instead of just writing like Charlie walks in, like what are you getting out of that? Like how is he walking in? So if you want to make him kind of like a slimy, kind of like sly kind of character, you're going to put Charlie silently slithers in. Here's another one with Mandy limps in and on her third try kicks the door open. We can see here that like, oh, she's hurt, but she's determined, something like that. And you get a lot out of the character this way than just saying, oh, she kicks the door like open or shut or whatever. Also steer clear of repetition. So like, if you keep saying that the character sits, or the character walks in, or the character enters, it's going to get boring. And also, if the location is already mentioned in the heading, you don't have to introduce it in the action lines after. So if, say here, you don't see that it's like, oh, this is a conference room with about a dozen business people. We already know it's a conference room. You don't have to say it again. So a super is for superimposing. So this is when you want to put text on a screen. So anytime you want text on the screen, you're going to write super. And then you're going to put like parentheses, not parentheses, like quotes, like 5 years if you want it to be time. If you want it to replace Seattle. If it's like they got 5 minutes to go, you put 5 hours, something like that. So some more special notes. Maybe you want your scenes to be styled a certain way, and that's where like a special note comes in. So you would write a note parenthetically in a separate paragraph, kind of like this. So if you want your scene to be in black and white, and you want it to be old and scratched up, that's where you put that there. If that's really important, you put that there. And especially if you're the director, you put that in. So dialogue. We all know dialogue, but like, how do we add dialogue to a script? So dialogue sections consist of character cue, actor's directions, character speech, which is, dialogue. A character's name is going to be in all caps above the dialogue and directions, and this is character cue. This is just cueing the actor for when they have to speak. If you follow like a character as they age and you want to refer to a younger self, you would put like young Steven, and then their past, or like not their past, but their present, like adult selves would just be Steven. And you can probably do that with like, if I'm going to put like toddler Steven, baby Steven kind of thing, you can do that. So a parenthetical direction usually suggests like subtext or attitude of a character. So this is when you're going to probably put some just like easy peasy, just like say, oh, angry, oh, annoyed. That's what you're going to just put it in like under there. But use these in moderation. You don't want to overuse them. And sometimes you can put action in them. I'll show you some examples of scripts that do. But, you want to limit it to just like John turns to Tiffany, or just put turns and that's it. To help clarify like who the person is talking to and stuff. In all of the cases, just interrupt the dialogue with an action line. So if you want them to be doing something while they're like, say, they sit down while they're like talking, you would just put the dialogue, interrupt it with John sits down on the couch, and then go back to him talking. And if a character is speaking a foreign language, you can put the foreign language in there, but if you're selling the script, especially to like an American English studio, and you want this mainly to be an English script, you're going to put the non-translated. Like you're gonna put just in like parentheses, you're gonna put in French, and then the dialogue is gonna be written in English. So then whoever's like reading this understands like what they are saying. Like if they don't know French, they can't be like, oh, I don't know what I don't know what they're trying to communicate here. Like, so it's just easier that way for whoever's reading it to understand it. So here's some special parentheticals. So if you want like a soliloquy, you'd put aside or to self. So just like if they're talking to themselves, just underneath their name, just put aside or to self. You can put continuing for like if you want them to continue their conversation or their dialogue after like action has cut through it. You just put continuing underneath, or you'd put can't next to it, next to their name. And then if the character's off screen but talking, so they're like, say they're yelling from another room, you'd put next to their name OS for off screen. For a voiceover, say they're like on the phone, they're narrating, you'd put VO next to the name. And I'll show you examples of that too. So for overlapping speech, you can write in the character cue both names of the characters, so like Joe and Sam, and then you put their dialogue underneath. Or indicate in the parentheses that someone is overlapping another character. Or, which I've never done, and I've just seen recently, you can put dialogue next to each other, like when you're formatting it. So it's like one block of dialogue right next to the other, which I'm guessing is a command in like a script program thing. I've never used it, never done it, but it seems interesting, and like in a script, I think it's nice to see, like it makes sense. So here's an example of some parentheticals. So you'd see here that they're talking in like Danish, but you see they're not in the dialogue. So this is just for whoever's reading it to understand what they're saying. So here's another, like here's continued. And then here's whisperly, so this is like how the actor's gonna say it. Here's him saying off screen. And then here's a voiceover. So let's look at some scripts, because I have a lot of scripts to go through. That was kind of all the formatting that you kind of need, like, generally. Anything else you'll just kind of learn through it. And I can go through, like, camera shots and stuff and, like, adding in, like, a close-up cut to in, like, a later class. It's just something that I don't really do. Like, a close-up is the most that I'll do. But, like, maybe, like, but a cut to is just, like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm not the cinematographer, I'm not the director, so I'm not going to make that choice. So we're going to look at some scripts. We're going to look at some of mine. But we're also going to look at Spider-Verse. We're going to look at Legend of Korra, The Office, Grey's Anatomy. And it'll be really quick. I'm not going to go too long because we're already almost an hour in. We're going to look at Batman, the animated series, Rick and Morty, Ocean's 11, and then also Ocean's 8. Because they have different styles. And they're kind of interesting. They're interesting films anyways. But, okay. So I'm going to show some of my scripts. Then you can kind of... These are all from freshman year of college, and I have to go through my documents so you can see all my things. Looking for it. I have a file on my thing, on my desktop. Okay. So here's a play script. I wrote this. When did I write this? Senior year of high school? I was like 16. No, I was 17. Here's this. Had to block out all my information. But here you have like a character list, which you're going to maybe have. I have seen. We'll look at the Grey's Anatomy one, and you'll realize that they have kind of one like this, but not with like descriptions. But here, all the action is gonna be in here, like in parentheses. And some play scripts are different from others. This is what I learned from the program that I was doing this through. This is how they wanted theirs to look like, so I was like, oh, okay. But from when I did like musicals and like plays in high school, like some of the scripts look different from this. But everything is in parentheses, and all the names are always going to be highlighted, like in caps. Because it's a little bit, I feel like it's because as a playwright, you're not really writing everything. Like, the director's gonna be the main source of, like, environment and, like, all that. And, you're kind of just writing, like, description. Like, I don't even remember really writing anything about, like about emotion, because the actors just take it and go. The writer's just kind of there with like building blocks. Let's see. I'll look at my Snot Girl one's pretty fun. And it has some fun stuff. I was reading it earlier today to look through. So for one of my assignments in class, we had to adapt something. And so I adapted the comic Snot Girl, which is by the same guy who does Scott Pilgrim. It's really good. So I did like the first volume, but I only did the first half, I think, for this one. I wrote another version because apparently he was like, oh, what if you just did something different? And I said, okay, well then I'll just rewrite the whole thing. And I redid like the other half of it. But so with here, you see I use a lot of supers. And this, I feel like all the dialogue I just took out from the graphic novel because it's just like good. But all the description, I really wanted to make sure that there's a lot of like voice in it and a lot of just like understanding how this is like the tone of it. And especially like with the supers really help. You kind of get that like more graphic-y, more satirical kind of vibe from it. So here's a text message. So here I just put text, and that's how I do it the whole way. There's other ways you can do a text message, but I don't put it here. Wait. There's one part that I wanted to put. This I don't like, where I put continue. I don't think I really need to do that. Because it just looks kind of busy and it looks messy. Like here it's like okay, but when you're just like here and here and here, or like, you know, all here, like it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I also have a series of shots at the end, but I put it like, you don't have to put the ABC stuff. I put it as with like an M dash, and then you put back to scene at the end. That's the end. I should have put the end at the end, but I didn't. But yeah, and see here I put, so she's in the bar, and then she races to the bar bathroom, locking the door behind her. Like I did that because I felt like that was just a quick way to get in there, because she's like running to it. I put knocks in caps because, you know, that's a sound. Sometimes you can put like a sound effect. You put SFX and then put the sound in caps. Put more super. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Okay, we'll just go into the other ones. I would show you this one, but I read over it and then I realized I had a bunch of stuff like wrong with it. I'm like, I don't know. But so here is the Spider-Verse script. It's really interesting. Like even just reading over the first one. I mean, Phil Lord and like Chris Miller, they're kind of like geniuses at writing, especially when like you see their like history of stuff. So I was like, oh, I know the script is gonna be good. Especially with like the first scene, so they have their like kind of teaser sequence kind of thing. They put sequences up here, which I don't understand, so don't ask me how to do that and what any of that means. I'm guessing that's more like a production kind of thing. I've only known pre-production, low budget stuff. See here we have a voiceover, and I find it interesting that they use italics, which like I don't know why they did, but I do like it. I'm guessing it's because it's more like a flashback, like a montage kind of thing. And we see like they do use cut to, because this is very much like a montage kind of scene. They both do voiceover and continue right here. And then they have a lot of stuff like with match cut. Match cutting would just be like putting two scenes together that are like kind of similar, I think. See, we have the super collider. That's important. So they have that. Peter slammed to the ground. So you want that to be really impactful. So that's why they have it in caps. They really use caps a lot with doing this. See, they have like photo. And then see, we see younger, blah, blah, blah. Like whips off. Like these are all like interesting. See, this is one of the first times I saw this with it next to each other. And you see that they just use Spanish within their dialogue. Have continuing, see? They use both. Edging away, like that's not just helpful for like the for like character like moving, but also it's helpful for characters like talking as well. See, we see impatient, chewing, and you see a lot of like voice within this. See, we have this again. We have a time cut here, and we have another sequence. I have no idea what the sequences are. Let me see what else there. This is interesting that they put both, like they have it underlined. And I can't get into the psychology of Phil Lord and be like, oh, he did this because of this. Like, it's whatever, like, really, like, whatever you feel like fits, you know. Let's move to another script. Here is a Legend of Korra script, which you see is a little bit different. I don't know why there's, like, numbers. Sometimes they have that. It's just number of lines that they have, or, like, dialogue. It's a number of dialogue that they have. This is from the episode, the one where it's the part 1 with, Juan, where they go, it's in season 2, where they go back to talk about the first Avatar ever. So they even, like, go back to their, they go back to an episode, and they mention it here. They widen to reveal, that's another, like, directorial kind of thing. Here's a design note. This location is inspired by the ancient Burmese temples of Bagan. See, that's something you can add in, especially if you want, like, something really, really specific. And see, they even put this in parentheses, which they didn't have to. We see another, like, mini Slug here. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong key. Yeah, we see, like, the moments later here. I just wanted to show you what a film, like a TV show, like an animated TV show would look like. Here's The Office. I thought this one would be interesting to look at because The Office is, you know, it's not just scripted, but it's also improv. So here we have the cold open. Some, like, I was never taught, like, acts and, like, putting an acts and, so, like, act 1, act 2, and all that, because I've only really written, like, the class that I took was in, just short film, so we only wrote 8 to 10 minute scripts, so there weren't really acts. I mean, they were technically, but they're shorter, and it just didn't, you don't add that in there. So here they have a cold open, which would be like their tag, their tease. And this is an episode where it's Michael's birthday, but then what's his name? Stanley, he is waiting on news if he has skin cancer. So and with here you can see they have I'm looking for the where is it? I'll come. So the talking head. So when they go off screen to, like, the little interview section, they call it the, like, Michael talking head, or they put the Jim talking head, which I find it interesting. Like, they don't just go into another scene, because that would just be, like, too much, obviously. Yeah, see, you have the Jim talking head, and then you go back into the scene. Alright. That's all I wanted to show. You can also do continued here with, like, scripts, and, like, if your scene is, like, continuing, but, like, it gets cut off, like, halfway, you're gonna, like, put continued there. And your program already does it for you, usually. You see the Dwight talking head. Now we're gonna go into Grey's Anatomy. And why I tell you, like, why I did is because, I don't know, there's something about, like, Shonda Rhimes scripts that are just, like, really interesting. She puts, like, numbers on all her scenes, I think. But her dialogue's really, like, really good. Like, even her, like, descriptions are really snappy. Like, if you really want to, like, write, like, a really good dialogue and just, like, understand, like, how to make it snappy and get as much information out, you do it through, and as much character through, like, you want to read Shonda Rhimes scripts. There was, like, a part I wanted to look at, but it's just, like, Bailey's on Brooke's heels. Like, that doesn't say that, oh, she's walking behind, but you obviously know. And you get a lot of character into it. Meredith falters. Shepard grins at her across the nurse's station. This is the first episode, I think. Yeah. Or no, it's the first one. Yeah, but it's really snappy. Just like I would read through her like the early seasons because they're just like on like they hit notes and all that. Yeah. Let me see. You want to put inappropriate, underlined, and italicized so the actor knows to say it with emphasis. And these are things that you don't have to use, but it's just like you can use it. If there's more than one intern, just like number them. Sometimes, obviously, like they're gonna cast like random ones. But if you have like characters, like in my Snot Girl one, there was like 2 like random characters, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna take the most memorable thing about them. So it was their hair when had space buns without a bob, and I just called one space buns, one bobs. Yeah, this is basically, it's like her scripts are just really snappy. So just like I would just read over them. And they're like almost an hour long. You see that they're like 52, probably a little bit under. So now we have the Batman one. Hopefully one day you get a TV show where you get your own like main character on the front. So this is really good. I really like this one too. You see a lot of parentheticals too. So the dentist, you put dentist, but it's really the Joker. So they put in parentheses that it's the Joker, but they don't know that. Let's see. Also, like the dialogue's just good. Here you see that he muffles cries of outrage. You can do this in this way, or you can do it in just like action, I guess. It depends on how, detail or like how much you want to cue your actors and voice actors in. You see that they have wider. This script really relies on like going wider and close-ups and all that. See like on Joker and Harley. See, I'm just not that kind of like camera person. I'm not like a camera thinker, so I don't put in that kind of stuff. I don't put on like maybe I'd put like a close up and that's it, because I'm just like, oh, I don't know where this is gonna be. I don't know, just take my idea and run with it. See, they deleted stuff out too, which I really like seeing in scripts. I don't know why. Yeah, this is the episode. This is Mad Love. I think you can see that on here. The infamous kind of Harley Joker, episode. I had like a shirt with it that I got from like Spencer's when I was like 13. Yeah, I'd like read over these kind of things, and you can see how they're kind of detailing stuff and like the action. Okay, now we're going to Rick and Morty. I wasn't gonna show it, but then I noticed that it's like interesting and how bare bones it is. I mean, it's a comedy kind of show, so I guess it would be, but it's just like it's a lot of dialogue, and I guess it's a dialogue heavy show, but like so you have the cold open, but it's just like very like when you look at it, you're like, oh, this is so like. It's not a lot. Like, it doesn't look fancy at all. You see this simultaneously, so this would be, like, at the same time they're talking. That's another way to do it. Like, see, like, this is just simple, like, Summer is standing in front of an open cupboard and talking on her phone. Super easy. And then they're talking. And then she's like, oh, she hangs up. Morty enters. Super, super easy. Like, super simple. Let me see if it gets any more difficult. Because there's obviously, like, points in the show where it gets, like, weird and they have to describe something. Yeah. See, and you get the kind of, like, you know, voice of the show and the tone of the show from, like, oh, like, you could just say a lot of aliens poured out, but now you understand what kind of show this is when they say, like, a shitload of aliens come out. And then, like, even, like, here, they put an alien creature on screen, crawls through camera, then out of the TV, a la The Ring. So, like, you can kind of, like, if that's the imagery you want presented, you can put that in there. But one thing that you can't really do unless you have, like, permission to, there's some references you can't make. Like, if you're gonna have music in there, you can't really, like, you have to buy the music. So instead of having, like, a specific song in mind, just put, like, the type of music, like a genre of music, the mood of the music, because obviously, like, whoever buys the script or the production company is gonna have to buy that song, and sometimes the song can be expensive. That's something they don't want to have to buy. But yeah, super simple. You know, see, rubs his hands, excited. 2 gearhead, super simple. Like, you don't have to be, like, super crazy with it. This is Ocean's 11. It's a super snappy kind of movie, and of course very intricate. And this is just as, like, the script is just as snappy. Like, when I read over a little bit, I noticed just I was like, oh, I was like going here and going here, and it's super, like, interesting. See, with voice, that's, like, his parole person, I think. You don't have to put, like, a character, so makes it easy. Yeah, like, guard, one. Let's see. My favorite, I really liked how they described the cards and just, like, going, like, really quick. Let's see what else to say. There's another part that I really liked. Frank turned his eyes to heaven, moving with Danny and Frank. This is more like a movie, you know, like a cinematography kind of thing. I would just put Frank and Danny walk together, something like that. You know, Frank smiles, Danny has his answer. Super, like, super simple, but you understand, like, now Danny's satisfied, and you kind of show that on screen, like the actor would. But yeah, like, a super snappy script. And there's a lot of dialogue. Like, it's a dialogue-heavy movie. And then we have Ocean's 8, which is the one with Sandra Bullock. I found this one really interesting because, first of all, the imagery is really great. Like, you really understand everything. And it's really simple, but you get everything about the character. Like, here, it's like her gait suggests an unpleasant, if not tenable, sojourn. She greets the world as if it has been waiting for her, allowing herself a moment of digestion. Her posture relaxes. She exhales as she closes her eyes. Like, that's, you get everything about the character right there. So from here, what I found interesting was doing some of the action within the parentheticals. So, like, without looking back, slow turns, seriously intoned. That's, like, something, like, it's a mark of this writer that this is how they do it. Like, that's how they do their dialogue and like actors like stuff. But they did it really in the beginning here. Haven't gone through too much of these scripts, just as much as I can. But you see here, it glances up as the couple, which is interesting. Why would they do that? As the couple wheels their luggage towards the door. That's interesting. But really, like, all these scripts kind of look different. They all look totally different from each other. And that's all right. Like, I mean, they're not, like, totally, because obviously they have the structure, but how they're written, and some of the things that they do are a little bit, like, different. Like, how they do parentheticals, what they want to, like, emphasize and, like, bold and stuff, and, like, they do it a little bit differently, and that's just, like, their own style as a writer. So you can really, like, I think, especially when I started in, I was just like, oh, this is just bare bones. You do this, they do that, they do this, like, super, super, like, simple. But I think you can really play with writing a script and with what you add in it and how fun it can be and the tone in it. And you really want it to be that way because you want whoever's reading it to understand how you want this film to be. Like, if you want a funny film, you want your action lines to be funny. Like, not just your dialogue. If you want it to be serious, you're going to do, like, a more serious toned, you know, more, like, moody kind of, like, action lines. But, yeah. So, let me get back to this. Although I don't really have much left, but... So, I do have some stuff you can think about and do if you want. So listen to a conversation you hear in real life through a podcast, live stream, documentary, etc., and write it down. This will help you a lot with dialogue. The thing is with dialogue is that I think a lot of people get scared with how they were like, oh, I really want it to be super duper realistic and, like, natural. And the thing is, when you're writing it down, it's never gonna be natural. Like, I get really, like, worried that if I'm writing something down and then I read it out loud, I'm like, oh, that's not natural. That doesn't sound good. But then, like, depending on the actor, depending on who they are, they're gonna be more, you know, like, they're gonna make it more natural. Another thing with dialogue, which I forgot to mention, was that don't add too much, like, ums, or, like, stutters, or anything like that. Like, they kind of take up time and space. I think unless, like, it's really important to what you're saying, you can add it, but, you can sometimes kind of add, like, accents to it if you want to make, like, their dialect a certain way, but don't make it too messy. If you ever read Redwall, like, the books about the mice and the whatever, like, the little medieval mice, like, don't write it like that, because, like, I remember when I was growing up reading them, I'm like, I have no idea what these, like, Scottish little, like, weasels are saying to me. Like, I don't know. So I was like, don't get too caught up into it. I would say, even if you want, like, a country accent or, like, Scottish accent, put in the parentheticals, or put in, like, a character description, instead. But yeah, make sure that you're listening. Like, the best way you're going to get more natural and more realistic and interesting dialogue is through real life, and just listening. And of course, we can't just go outside and, like, sit in a park and listen to people anymore, or, like, go into the mall, or go into a restaurant and listen in. So I'd say podcasts and live streams are just as good. Documentaries can be great, especially if they're, like, having a conversation between two people. But even, like, if they're just, like, kind of talking to someone, and, like, that can be just as great. And also read some scripts for fun. I gotta start doing this more. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't feel like reading. Just like, I don't feel like it. Or I can never figure out what I want to read. And so just find a script that you like, a show. Animated shows are very hard to find, like, scripts on, I find. A lot of them are just more transcriptions. I think it's because I go through so many iterations of them. And that's why it's more difficult. if you really want to get into screenwriting like a lot, and you want to get into writing for animation, writing for a TV show or something, start writing spec scripts. I started writing them, and I think it's good to have in your portfolio, and it's good as practice to kind of like understand how these characters are like in your favorite shows are acting, and like, and kind of getting and understanding the flow of a TV show, and like how it would be like. And it shows like studios that you can write for them and stuff that they have produced in the past, like doing like Gravity Falls, doing like, I don't know, like if you like Owl House, you can do that. Just make sure it's like an original idea. I wouldn't say like, but with a plot that you know would happen in it. Like with my spec script, I'll go into it more. So with my spec script, I went super simple, and it's just, you know, what's his name? Waddles finds like an amulet, like a magical one that grants wishes, and Dipper and Mabel find that he has it, and then they fight over, like, because they're twins, they have to they like get the same 3 wishes, and they have to share them, and so the last one they fight over, and that's like the basic premise that I had, and it's just simple. Like, that's something that would happen on a show, you know, something simple. But yeah, that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, you can ask them now. And also, if you have anything you want me to touch on more in the next class, because I'm nearing in on how much I have material wise. So if there's anything else you want me to like touch on, if there's something I missed in one of the classes, or you want me to like expand on, you know, tell me now, or you can message me later on Discord or on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you follow me. And also in advance, thank you to everyone that, you know, comes on the stream, but also watches on YouTube afterwards, and those who have followed me on here and on YouTube as well. Like, it's super cool. And it's nice to know that people are, you know, learning something. Yeah, so if anyone else has any questions, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. This has already gone a little long. Yeah, Baby Driver, like, Edgar Wright's really good with writing scripts. Like, they're, like, he's kind of like a mastermind. I was gonna do one of his scripts. I was gonna do Tintin. But I was like, nah, that's just another thing. But he does, like, a lot of, like, really punchy, like, fast. Like, if you really want your script to be fast, like, you see how he has, like, 2 lines max, basically. Like, it's really, like, you get the punchiness of his script here. And you see how much imagery is in here. Like, it's super duper, like, there's no dialogue in this first scene. Which is, like, that's, like, the thing all writers need to have, you know? Like, that's their, like, crutch is, like, oh, dialogue. Trying to figure out descriptions, you know, hard. But yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Hopefully, if you're in college right now and you're in finals, good luck. You know, happy holidays, because, you know, that's coming up soon, you know? all that time and stuff. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop it here. You can see my matrix of my streaming service thing. I don't know if I'm gonna do one in 2 weeks, because that'll be Christmas week, and I kind of just want to not do. I also need to find more material, because I want to do another class, but I don't know what I'm gonna do it on. So if you guys have any ideas of what you want me to focus on, I can, you know, we can go over writing good action lines, or if you have a script and you want to send it to me, and I can kind of like not workshop it on stream, but just like take parts that like maybe you need to work on, or just like maybe what's good, just do that. Yeah. So might see each other in 2 weeks, might see each other in 4 weeks or 3 weeks. Who knows? But yeah, so thank you for coming, and have a good night and a good rest of your week.